MovieWeb.com.
Vincent, you and Vigo become Russian gangsters in this film. The tattoos, the dialect, the accent. Explain that process of becoming these characters.
It's always very attractive when suddenly you have something so far away from you to play. You know, I don't know. I mean, as an actor, this is like, we talk about composition, and it's, there's so many things to do. I think, first of all, you need to get rid of all the, let's say, technical aspect. Talking about the language, the accent, it's something you really have to work on, because otherwise it's just not believable. Then all the aspect thing, choose the right tattoos, what do they mean, why. For example, Vigo has to have much more because he went in jail, and that's the kind of tattoos you have when you're in jail. Mine are just family marks, But then after that, you just have to play a human being, and you can be Russian or a gangster, whatever. That's just the decorum. The most important thing is, the kind of interaction he has with his father, his friend, and that it can be French, American, Russian. It doesn't change anything to the core of what you got to do.
Right now, you speak about conscience, and your character does have a crisis of conscience, because this film is really about sex slavery and human trafficking.
Totally.
What's happening to these Eastern European women and women in East Asia, and even Darfur. Can you talk about if you use any of that to maybe inform the character?
Totally. I mean, it was really strange. I just came back from Toronto, and it looks like some people, they just freak out and they say, but it really happened? I say, of course it happens. You just take a computer, type 2 keywords, and you will get in front of the window of all that thing, What we're talking about here in this movie is the backstage of all those windows. But it's very accessible to anybody, anywhere in the world. It's happening, and it's huge.
Well, why do you think it's not become more prevalent in news stories? Because, it is very, very prevalent. It's happening all over the world, and I think people will be surprised at what's happening with these girls in this film.
Why, you think? Why people don't talk more about it? Because I guess people don't want it to be over. They want to, it's something that it's part of the society today. And prostitution is, as we say, is the oldest job in the world. And so I guess it's just now it has this form, but it used to be in the street, and I guess people just don't want it to stop. It's so much money, and I guess if suddenly there were no more, I don't know, maybe people would go down the street and make a protest. And it's a huge paradox, but I guess it's the story of the human nature.
Talk about working with David. David's really on a high roll between this film, History of Violence, and Spider. He's really taken his art to a new form. What was he like on set, and how is he different from other directors that you've worked with?
On set is a very calm, great sense of humor, a very warm. It's one of the easiest director I've worked with. There's no, he never screams. He never has to show that he's the boss. Everybody knows that, and so the result of that is that it's a very easygoing process. It gives you a lot of freedom. I was almost amazed. I felt totally free. He would say, "Can you start sitting on that chair?" And then we would just build the scene with Vigo. And he wouldn't say anything, except eventually, by the end, when you say goodbye, do you have to walk to the stairs? I say, I don't know. It felt natural. He said, yes, but that's another light setting. And if you do that, just those 3 steps, I'm not going to be able to shoot the whole scene today. Can you stay there at the end? I say, yes, of course I can. So this is the kind of relationship he has with the actors. He really watches you. The thing I have to say is that you feel observed with a microscope all the time. There's nothing you will say, or even if you just blink, that you won't see. And that's very reassuring for an actor.
You've done many films in Europe. You've come to Hollywood and done some Hollywood films, but you've always chosen, I think, some good directors. What do you think is the difference between the European artistry and more of like big Hollywood these days?
Well, what I always say is that between action and cut, it's exactly the same. You need to act, and it's your turn to do your thing, and nobody can help you at that point. For the rest, I guess there is a higher sense of hierarchy here. And I'm not sure it's the great thing, Like, for example, the crew and what they call the talents are very separated in a way. It's like it's 2 different worlds, And I don't feel it's really like that in France and in Italy, for example, where, I guess just because the system is much smaller, people interact more maybe.